Hello and welcome back to It Came From a Vlog. I'm Kate and today we're going to be talking about our first ever homeschool year in review. I'm going to talk about what worked, what didn't, and what we're going to do different next year if we're continuing next year. Let's go. Let me start off by giving you a short little backstory of why we're doing homeschool. Pre-pandemic times, my daughter, who's 9, and my son, who's 4 now, went to a private school. As we all know, COVID hit towards the end of the school year and things changed drastically. Not to mention the fact that I had the baby February 24th of 2020. So everything was different. We had a newborn baby at home, and while I was looking forward to having time to bond with her while the kids were at school, suddenly everything was at home and virtual. To put it simply, virtual school was not my favorite. My son was in pre-K 3 and he just could not pay attention to what was going on the screen. And my daughter wasn't feeling it either. So looking forward to the next school year with a big question mark, nobody knew what was gonna happen. Would things be virtual? Would things be in person? Plus the cost of private school. It wasn't working for us. Now let's talk about Riley. That's my 9-year-old daughter who's in 3rd grade. Easy peasy, worked out pretty well for this first year. What I loved about it is that everything is pre-planned for you. All they have to do is sit at the computer, log in, and there's a checklist of everything that they do for the day. It was very hands-off for me. I just came in and checked to make sure that she was actually doing the work, and she learned a lot. The best thing about homeschooling for her is that when she was at school, she was having a lot of anxiety about testing and quizzes. Her self-confidence was really low. It was very difficult as a mother to watch her lose that love of learning and that love of going to school because everything is so test driven nowadays. Throughout this year homeschooling, I have watched her confidence build so much. I see way more self-esteem, a lot less anxiety, and that as a parent makes it all worth it. One of the biggest struggles for me is adjusting to not comparing my children to other children and to public school children. So for instance, at the end of this year, I pulled up our state standards for language arts and math, and I was shook. My daughter meets pretty much all of the language arts standards, but the math standards are insane. I'm pretty sure that I don't even know half of what they're talking about. So this led to a lot of self-doubt for me, and I would just be pulling my hair out, wondering if I'm doing enough, if I'm not doing a good job, if she should just go back to school and learn from somebody who actually knows what they're doing. But I've experienced a lot of encouragement by being plugged into the homeschool community and hearing from a lot of other YouTube homeschool moms and being in Facebook groups and realizing that I'm not alone in these concerns, but our children are still learning at their own pace, and that's okay. I am gonna bring Riley in a little bit and hear her thoughts on what worked and what didn't work this year for homeschooling and what she would like to change in the future. But one thing that I did before we started the school year was I created a list of goals where I sat down with her and with him as much as I could. I'm not sure how much he was tracking with me, but it was still a shared experience. I think we did a decent job sticking to it. Some things fell off and some things got added in that we didn't expect. And it's really helped shape my plan for the future and things that we want to do. I pulled up my list of homeschool goals. So a lot of this includes our daily goals, which is what I discussed before, the checklist that they had to complete every day before they could move on to free time. Here's a list of Riley's daily goals. We pretty much stuck to all of this. Now, every day she didn't help me make lunch. A lot of times she had to continue working while I prepared the lunch. No big deal. Some days were really hot or rainy and we didn't get outside, but we did have a lot of playground time here at our new house. There's a little playground and we would go towards the afternoon or evening when it's a little bit cooler and play with the friends. When it was raining, I don't even know if we ever did Go Noodle or Cosmic Yoga. That might have just been an idea I had in my head because that's something that she had done at school in the past, but we didn't really do that. And here's Holden's daily goals. This, no big deal. We kept to all of these except for the Go Noodle and Cosmic Yoga, like I mentioned. and also the EP lesson. That's the easy peasy lesson. So the preschool easy peasy curriculum is a little lackluster. It was not my favorite. I ended up getting one of those big books for preschool and doing that, and also scissor cutting activities instead. It just really wasn't that fun and engaging. It's really simple worksheets and tracing, whereas the other ones that you can buy on Amazon or even at the dollar store are colorful and they're way more fun. Another thing that we wanted to do this year is have Fun Friday. That's something that Riley had at school, and that would be a more laid back day where they could like watch a movie while they had lunch. Our original idea here was to play board games or co-op games on the Switch, and the kids could pick dinner and help cook, and finally go to the pool more often. We definitely went to the pool a lot more often. We went to the zoo a ton of times. Our neighbor had a zoo membership and we went there a bunch, and they have a great splash park. So that was one thing that we got to do a lot. Not necessarily on Fridays though, but whenever the feeling hit, we could go and do that. We did a lot of really fun things and a lot of together time on other days besides just Friday. So that's how I'm gonna justify it. Rolling into next year, I'm not going to put pressure on myself for Fridays to do a bunch of extra things. I think it's gonna be like Fridays are just a little bit more laid back and the kids have more freedom of what we choose to do that day. All right, those were the daily goals, but now we're getting to like the broader homeschooling goals that we had for the year. Let's start with my son Holden, who's 4. Here's what I was hoping to accomplish this year. For him to learn his letters and sounds. We've done a pretty good job. He can sing his alphabet. He recognizes almost all the letters and he knows a lot of the sounds. He can even read some simple words, which is something that I didn't think we would be able to accomplish, and I didn't even envision when we came into this year. The next goal was counting to 20. He can get to about 13 and then he just goes 13, 13, 13, 15, 16 and continues. I don't know. I'm not gonna worry about it because he's little and he should have fun. The whole idea is just for him to get into the groove of learning and get that appetite and that hunger to learn more. The next goal was to be able to write his name, and he can do this really well. If I write it, he can copy it perfectly, but even if I don't write it and just instruct him then he Next thing was to improve his ability to sit and listen to a story, improve reading comprehension. I think we've done a good job of this. I've tried to read more at night. I will say there was something about when the kids went to school, every single night when the kids were in school, every single night, I would read them a book. But now that we're homeschooling, sometimes I don't do the bedtime book. And I really need to get back into the habit of that because I love doing that and I truly believe in the importance of doing that. The last thing on his list was improve his scissor cutting skills, and we definitely did this. He has some dang good scissor cutting skills for a 4-year-old. Moving on to Riley, I sat down and we came up with these goals together. So let's look at these. Learn how to draw more realistically. We definitely did this. I got her this awesome fashion book that she absolutely loved. Then we wanted her to learn how to make a dinner recipe on her own, and she can do it. She wanted to do some sewing projects with my mom, and my mom did that with her. I think they made a pillow or something, and they've started something else this summer as well. Our other goal was to finish the first Harry Potter book. We did that, and we're over halfway through the second. She read a ton of books this year. We kept a book log. That's definitely something I'm going to do moving forward because I love to look back and see what she read for the year. But that's enough from what I think about the school year. Let's talk to Riley and see what she thought.
Here's what I liked about homeschooling. After school, I didn't have to do homework. Most days I finished school by 2 o'clock and then I could do whatever I want. But I did have to do some Prodigy and read some books. What I didn't like about homeschooling is I miss my friends from school. I had times with friends when I was done with school, but usually when I finish early, all of my friends are still at school and I would have to wait a while. But I would still be able to do whatever I want. So that was okay about the homeschooling. One thing that I learned this year is that if I do homeschooling, I should probably work ahead a lot of days, and then that's how I ended early. and all of those kids were still at school and I was done. I had lots of fun. Not doing schoolwork all the time. I could sleep in and not worry about my schoolwork. One thing that I really liked is that, at school when you would go on field trips, I actually got to go on lots of field trips. Going to the zoo and the Keys a lot. Oh yeah, we went to the Theater of the Sea, alligator farm. Oh, airboat rides. It was so much fun.
Now you're gonna get to hear some deep thoughts from Holden.
Look at my sandwich. It's yummy. I like schoolwork.
So now you got to hear what the kids think. Overall, it was a very successful year. Here's what I'm looking forward to doing a little bit differently next year. More reading, more science experiments, more hands-on stuff, more arts and crafts, more field trips, and more fun. If you're homeschooling, please share with me about your year. I would love to hear about it. If you're not homeschooling, what do you think? What do you think about homeschooling? It's kind of crazy. I'm still getting used to it, but I kind of love it. Thank you so much for watching this video. I would totally appreciate it if you liked, if you commented, if you subscribed. That would just be the cherry on top. I hope to see you next time here on It Came From a Vlog. Bye-bye.